Hey guys, I'm Mr. Hark. Four hikers are out on Mount Hood when they stumble across a fresh grave, and sticking right out of it is a muffler, almost like someone shoved it there as a marker. Creepy enough, right? But then they notice something even stranger. A thermal camera mounted in the trees, pointed directly at the grave. They report it to the rangers, who pull the footage from around 4 in the morning. And what they see, a massive, upright figure, huge shoulders, long arms carrying a dead man, and bearing him by hand. It was trying to cover the body, like it was protecting it. And trust me, what happens later, that's the part I don't want to spoil yet. Before we get into this insane mystery, make sure to like, subscribe, and share the video. Alright, let's begin. I'm Evan. I'm 37 now. Back then I worked in IT for a small company in Portland, the kind of job where your body slowly turns into the shape of a desk chair if you let it. Hiking was what I did to feel like a person again. Weekends, holidays, whenever I could bargain a long weekend out of my boss. We weren't hardcore mountaineers or anything like that. Just 4 friends who liked to push it a little. Me, my girlfriend at the time, Lily, our friend Chris, who took gear way too seriously, and Maya, who was basically born with trekking poles in her hands. You know the type. Chris had the latest GPS watch, the best layers, the backup battery for the backup battery. Maya had speed. She liked to be the one out front. Lily was quieter, more cautious. She was the one who'd ask, "Are we sure about this?" in that small voice right before something actually went wrong. It started as just another weekend for us, just a hike. That's the part that still gets me, how normal it all was. We drove up to Timberline Lodge before sunrise. It was one of those gray mornings where you can't tell if the sky's cloudy or if the light just hasn't decided to show up yet. I remember the smell of coffee in the car and the sound of the heating vents on full blast. Maya was scrolling on her phone in the passenger seat, reading the forecast out loud, acting like our weather woman. Clear most of the day, maybe a system moving in tonight, she said. Wind on the ridges, temps dropping fast after dark, nothing crazy. Chris kept reminding us about sunset time. We're fine if we're not stupid, he kept saying. He has this way of saying stuff that sounds reassuring and condescending at the same time. We parked, pulled on layers, did all the little rituals you do when you've done enough trips together. Boots laced, gaiters, check phones, check map, even though we knew the route. Lily was fussing with her gloves. She runs cold, always has. I remember seeing the missing person flyer on the bulletin board by the lodge doorway. Middle-aged guy, roundish face, graying beard, smiling in that old Facebook profile way. Name underneath. Last seen heading out alone a few days earlier. Jesus, another one, Maya muttered. Chris glanced at it, did that thing where he pretends not to care but his eyes go sharp. That's what happens when people don't respect the weather. Lily just looked away. Stuff like that hits her hard. She'd latch on to the face, to the family behind it, and carry it uphill with her. I snapped a picture of the flyer on my phone without really knowing why. Little things like that feel strange when you remember them later. The first few hours were normal. Boring, even, if you've done that side of Hood enough times. Crunch of old snow mixed with dirt under our boots. The smell of wet earth and pine. The wind was more of a background thing than a threat at that point, like it was still waking up. We passed a couple of other hikers heading down. One older guy with a big day pack nodded at us and said, "Stay ahead of the clouds," which sounded like something my granddad would have said. The mountain looked calm. You get that open sky feeling above the tree line where it almost feels safe because you can see everything. No surprises. Looking back, there were small things that should have felt off. There weren't many birds. Usually you hear something. Jays, chickadees, ravens cutting across the wind. That morning felt thin. Just wind and our boots and our breathing. There were also these weird prints at one muddy section lower down. I noticed them only because Chris stopped. They weren't clean tracks, just deeper, longer depressions mixed with boot prints and melt runoff. I remember thinking they almost looked like somebody had walked through in snowshoes, but the spacing was wrong. Too long between each step. "Moose?" Lily asked, which made all of us laugh because this is Oregon, not freaking Alaska. "Probably just skis or something," Chris said. He took a quick look, shrugged, and moved on. So we did too. It's amazing how fast you'll explain away weird stuff when your brain has already decided what today is supposed to be. We got up near one of the more exposed sections by late morning, where the trees thin out and the ground is more rock and scrub than forest. From there, if you look back, you can see this wide view, layers of hills, the hint of the highway far below, the lodge shrunk down to toy size. People pay good money for postcards of that view. We had it for free. The wind was stronger there. It pushed at our jackets and made the straps on my pack buzz against the fabric. The air had that dry, cold feeling that doesn't match the actual temperature, like it's warning you about what's coming later. We stopped to rest near this rock outcrop. There was a stand of scraggly trees nearby and a small rise where the ground was bare, like something had scraped or slid over it. Maya dropped her pack and stretched. "God, my legs miss this," she said. Lily sat on a rock, quiet, looking out over the view. I could see the red tip of her nose already, even with the balaclava pulled up. I wandered a little, just to stretch my own legs, and that's when I saw it. At first, I thought somebody had just dug a small pit and filled it back in. You see disturbed ground all the time, animals, old fire pits, whatever. But this was different. The dirt was too smooth in some spots, too clumpy in others, and it was fresh. Darker, damper than the ground around it, like it hadn't had time to freeze or dry out yet. I stepped closer and noticed something sticking up near one end, a strip of fabric. Dark blue maybe, no, not fabric. Thicker, ribbed, a muffler, like off a jacket. The kind you cinch tight around your neck. For a second, my brain did that thing where it tries to make it into trash. Lost gear, someone's stuff. Anything simple. Then a thought slid in, sharp and fast. What if there's someone under there? Guys? My voice must have come out weird because they all turned at the same time. We gathered around the mound. It wasn't huge. Maybe the length of a tall person, maybe a little shorter. The shape was wrong for a pile of gear or a collapsed something. It had that outline your eyes don't want to read correctly. Chris crouched down and gently tugged at the muffler. It didn't move. It was caught between dirt and something else. He didn't pull hard, just enough to see that it wasn't lying loose. Nobody joked. That's how I knew we were all thinking the same thing. Lily stepped back first, one hand over her mouth. Maya put her hands on her hips, staring. "Could be an animal," Maya said, "like somebody buried a deer or something." "Hunters." "In a jacket," Chris said quietly. The wind did this long gust over us, like the whole mountain exhaled. It made my eyes water, and I blinked hard, looking around. That's when I saw the camera, mounted about 3 meters up a nearby tree, angled toward us. Not hidden, but not exactly obvious either. It had a weather housing around it and a cable running down the trunk before disappearing into the ground. It didn't look like a basic trail cam. It looked official, solid, expensive. "Okay, that's something," I said, pointing. Chris squinted up at it. "Ranger camera, maybe. Wildlife monitoring. Or security," Lily said. "If this is what I think it is." No one wanted to say the word. "Body. Dead person." We drifted into that awkward space where nobody wants to touch anything, but nobody wants to just walk away either. Maya broke it. "We should go back. Tell someone. Ranger station, whatever." "And do what?" Chris asked, but it was more out of habit than disagreement. "We report it," I said. "If it's nothing, it's nothing. If it's something, better someone who knows what they're doing handles it." Lily nodded, still pale. "I don't want to be standing here if whoever did this comes back." We all looked at the mound again at the same time. It felt wrong to stand there, like standing over someone's grave uninvited. So we left. We didn't run. We didn't sprint like in a movie. We just sped up. Packs back on, eyes flicking to the side like we were waiting for someone to step out from behind a tree and ask what we were doing. I remember looking back once and seeing that smooth mound with the little strip of blue sticking out, the camera above it, the sky starting to close in with thicker clouds. That image still lives in my head like a photograph. The ranger station was warm in a way that felt almost obscene after the cold outside. You know that smell buildings get up in the mountains? Damp wood, stale coffee, wet gear drying in some back room. That and the hum of fluorescent lights overhead. There were 2 rangers on duty. One older guy with a thick mustache and a weathered face, and a younger woman who looked like she spent more time outdoors than in. They did the normal thing at first. Names, where we'd been, what we'd seen. The older guy, his name was Harris, kept glancing at Lily like he was gauging how shaken she was. We found disturbed ground, Chris said. Looked like a grave. Fresh. There was clothing. And a camera in a tree. That got their attention. The younger ranger, Jenna, exchanged a look with Harris. It wasn't a look of surprise. It was more like, it happened. Harris rubbed his forehead. Show me exactly where, he said. We traced it on their relief map. Timberline Trail near a small rise just off the main route. He nodded slowly, something tightening in his jaw. Okay, he said, mostly to himself. Okay. We didn't dig or touch anything, I added. Just the muffler. A little. We didn't pull it out. You did the right thing, Jenna said. Her voice was calm but a little too flat. You said there was a camera? Yeah, Maya said. Mounted high. Looked official. That's ours, Harris said. That was the first real jolt. Ours. Like they already knew. Before I could ask, he was already moving. Sit tight, he told us. We're gonna check something. Then we'll talk about next steps. You all okay? Anyone need water, bathroom, anything like that? It sounded like a script, like he'd done this before. We mumbled we were fine. Lily sat in one of the plastic chairs along the wall and hugged herself. Chris paced. Maya stood by the window, watching the clouds roll in over the mountain. Jenna disappeared into a back room with Harris. We could hear muffled voices, the sound of a chair scraping, the click of something, maybe a keyboard, maybe some old piece of equipment. Time stretched. 5 minutes. 10. Enough for my brain to run through all the normal human possibilities. Murder. Someone killed the missing guy and buried him. Rangers caught it on camera. They were freaking out because that meant legal stuff, liability. Or maybe it was an animal attack. A bear dragged him. Rangers buried the remains to come back with proper equipment, and we stumbled onto it early. All the normal stuff you think when the world is still sane. Then Jenna came back out and said, "We're going to show you something. But before we do, I need you to understand this isn't going to leave this building. We clear?" Chris frowned. "What do you mean?" Harris stepped out behind her, arms folded. "I mean, what we're about to show you is part of an active investigation, and it's not for social media, not for blogs, not for creepy internet stories. You report what you found, we file it. That's your part. You understand me?" His eyes were on me when he said that last part. I don't know why. Maybe I just looked like the type to tell stories. "Yeah," I said. "Okay, good," he said. "Come on." The monitor was an old flat screen in a cramped back office. Cables everywhere, a couple other windows minimized on the desktop weather data, a map, nothing that looked fun or secret. Jenna clicked through a folder, then another, then opened a file. "Camera number 12, she said. "Timestamp 4 in the morning today." The screen was in black and white at first, then shifted into that weird, high-contrast look of thermal imaging. Hot things bright, cold things dark. The frame showed a section of slope and scrub. The tree I'd seen the camera on was just out of frame, so this was from another angle, probably a slightly higher one looking down. "Okay," Jenna said quietly. "Watch." There was nothing at first, just static gray tones. The mound wasn't there yet, just bare ground. Then something moved from the left side of the frame. I remember leaning in and then catching myself, like I didn't want to get too close to the screen. Like the thing on it could see me, humanoid. Upright, taller than any person I've ever seen outside of a basketball game. And even then, this was different. Broader. The shoulders took up too much space. The head sat low, like there wasn't much neck. It moved slowly, like it was carrying weight. Which it was. In its arms, no, across its chest was another human shape. Limp, legs dangling. A head slumped back. I heard Lily make a small sound behind me. Maya swore under her breath. Chris said nothing. The big figure stepped into the center of the frame and went down on one knee. You could see the heat contrast clearly. The big shape was warm, glowing almost white on the screen. The smaller body was cooling, patchy. The figure adjusted its grip and laid the body down on the ground with this weird care. Not like tossing something off your shoulder, more like lowering someone into bed. I don't know why that detail bothers me like it does. It was clumsy, sure, but careful, intentional. It knelt there for a second, then it started to dig. On the screen you could see the dirt fly, darker patches where it turned over cold soil. Its arms moved in a steady rhythm. not frantic. Just working. Is this a joke? Chris said. His voice sounded too loud in the small room. Nobody's laughing, Harris said. It's a guy in a suit, Maya said, but even as she said it, I could hear she didn't believe it. The arms were too long. The proportions were off. The back, when it turned slightly, was too wide, with this thick mass over the shoulders that wasn't clothing. The head never quite turned in a full human way. It was more like the upper body shifted as one piece. And the speed. You don't realize how distinct human motion is until you see something slightly wrong. It wasn't fast or jerky, just heavy, like it was moving through thicker air than we were. We watched it dig out a space roughly the size of the man it had carried. Then it lifted the body again, repositioned it, and slid it into the shallow pit. I remember the way the body's arm flopped. Loose, dead weight, no tension at all. Lily covered her mouth again. I heard her breathing change. The big figure paused. For a long moment, just kneeled there, head bent slightly. Then this is the part that sticks. It reached out and pulled the man's jacket tighter around his torso, fumbled with the zipper, pulled up the muffler around his neck. It tucked him in. I swear to you, that's what it looked like. God, I said. I didn't mean to say it out loud. Nobody corrected me. Not even Harris. We watched as it started to push dirt back in. It used its hands and forearms, sometimes its whole upper body. It packed the earth down on top of the man. The shape of the body disappeared under the dark patch of turned soil. At one point, it stopped and looked up. Not at the camera exactly, more like it lifted its head and listened. The screen didn't show detail in the face, just a hot spot where the head was. But the attitude of it, that something's out there, pause, you know it when you see it. It finished covering the body. There was more dirt to go. Then it stood. Standing like that, it took up almost the full height of the frame. I don't know how many times I've replayed that image in my head. The bulk of it, the way it held its arms. Not quite like a man, not like an ape either, not from any zoo or documentary I've ever seen. Then it stepped out of frame, back to the left. Gone. The timestamp kept running. 10 minutes. 20. The image stayed mostly still, just the wind moving the scrub a little, the cooling ground. Eventually the file ended. Nobody spoke. Finally, Harris cleared his throat. The body, we're pretty sure that's our missing hiker from the poster, he said. We're going out now with Med and SAR to recover him. Pretty sure? Chris said. His voice was tight. You mean you're not sure? We're 90+%, Jenna said. Clothing matches, size matches. We won't say 100 until we have fingerprints and dental. Who, what is that? Lily asked. She sounded small. Younger than she was. Harris looked at us for a long second, like he was deciding how much to say. We've had reports, he said, not just here, all over this range. For a long time. Most of them are nonsense. Drunks, people seeing bears in bad light. But sometimes we get something like this. He gestured at the screen. And what do you call it? Maya asked. He shrugged. You want the official answer or the honest one? Honest, I said. Off the record, he added. We're not reporters, Chris snapped. Yeah, well, everybody's got a camera now, Harris said. Officially, this is unidentified wildlife activity. That's what we put on the form. Unofficially, he hesitated. Unofficially, some of the old-timers call it the big guy. Forest giant, you all know the word everybody uses. Bigfoot, Lily whispered. I didn't say it, Harris said. Jenna spoke up then. Look, whatever that is, the important thing here is that your missing man isn't missing anymore. He died of exposure up there. Probably got off trail, got hypothermic, went down. This thing, she pointed at the screen, didn't kill him. There are no signs of an attack in the footage, no struggle. He's already limp when it carries him. How do you know it didn't eat him or something before that? Maya asked. She sounded more angry than scared now. Because we've seen predation, Jenna said flatly. From bears, cougars, scavengers. That's not what this is. This is different. Like a burial, I said quietly. Jenna looked at me. Yeah, she said. Like a burial. They didn't let us come with them to recover the body, obviously. We sat in that lobby area while they geared up, radioed people, moved with that efficient, serious energy that comes when it's not a drill. We heard snatches of talk. Send a med examiner, tell them just exposure, we'll handle the rest. Camera 12 footage backed up. Lily curled up in her chair and sort of shut down, like she was trying to process it in little pieces. Maya paced. Chris grilled Jenna with questions whenever she passed through. Had they seen this before? Did they have other footage? Why weren't they calling the news? What about scientific papers, universities? Jenna deflected all of it with the same line. Our job is public safety. Not headlines. Not starting mass hysteria. At some point, Harris came back in, partially geared up, jacket half zipped, hat under his arm. All right, he said. We're heading out. You four did the right thing, reporting this. I need you to keep doing the right thing. What does that mean? I asked. It means you let us handle the story, he said. Officially, this is a hiker who died of exposure and cardiac arrest. There's no sign of foul play, no crime. No threat to the public beyond the usual risks of the mountain. That's not the whole truth, Maya said. It's the part people can handle, Harris said. You start talking about that, he jerked his thumb toward the back room, and you get every idiot with a YouTube channel and a rifle out here. People will get hurt. Animals will get hurt. We don't have the resources to manage that circus. So you just stay quiet? Lily asked. He met her eyes. His expression softened a little. You think this is the first body I've recovered? He asked quietly. Or the first weird thing I've seen? My job is to get folks home alive if I can, and if I can't, to get their families some answers. I can't do that if all my time is spent chasing down folks who want to go monster hunting in the snow. We saw the footage, I said. It was carrying him like it cared, Lily finished. Harris didn't answer that. He just looked tired. Please, he said. Don't put this online. Don't talk to reporters. Don't go back up there trying to get your own video. You want to tell your therapist in 10 years, fine. But for now, let us handle it. We didn't sign anything. There was no NDA. Just that look, that ask. I wish I could say I refused. Stood up for the truth, something noble. Instead, I nodded. Okay, I said. And that was the first lie. We should have just gone home after that. Driven back down the mountain, taken hot showers, tried to sleep and failed. But we left our packs up there. Our gear, our shells and food and extra layers. It wasn't cheap stuff, and it wasn't sensible to just abandon it to the weather. So after a couple hours, when the ranger trucks had gone and the station was quieter, we told Jenna we were heading back up just to grab our packs and then we'd be done. She hesitated. You sure that's a good idea? She asked. It's still daylight, Chris said. We know where we're going. We'll be quick. She studied us and then nodded once. Fine. In and out. Stick together. Weather's moving in faster than forecast. Outside, the sky had thickened. Clouds had this flat, heavy look, like they were pressing down on the top of the mountain. The air felt colder. The wind had climbed up a notch into that range where it cuts through your clothing no matter how good your layers are. We moved fast. I remember that much. Less talking, less joking. Everyone a little more inward. The trail felt different on the way back up. Same route, but the woods had that charged feeling, like after a fight in a room where nobody's quite calmed down. We didn't talk about what we'd seen on the screen. Not clearly, just little fragments. That wasn't a guy in a suit, Lily said at one point. No, I said. Then what was it? I don't know, I said. And that was the truth. We reached the area where we'd rested earlier. Our packs were right where we dropped them on the rocks. That normal, everyday fact almost felt insulting, like the world was trying to pretend nothing was off. The grave was still there. The dirt looked a little more settled, that's all. The muffler tip was still visible. The camera still watched from the tree. The wind was constant now, making a low rush in my ears. The light had shifted into that late afternoon gray where shadows blur. Grab your stuff, Chris said. Let's bounce. We moved around, pulling on packs, cinching straps. It felt like trying to act normal at a funeral. I had just gotten my arm through the second strap when Lily grabbed my sleeve. Don't, she whispered. I froze. The what? She didn't answer in words. She just turned my shoulders slightly and pointed. I followed her finger. Down the slope, maybe 30, 40 meters out, something moved through the trees. Not the way a deer moves. Not the way a human moves. Big, dark, upright. It slipped between two trunks and vanished, then appeared again a second later in a small gap. Every time it moved, the branches around it shivered, then stilled. My first thought was, it came back to check the body. My second thought was, it knows we messed with it even though we hadn't really. Get down, Maya hissed. We dropped behind the rock outcrop like kids playing hide and seek, except there was nothing playful about the dry taste in my mouth or the shaking in my hands. The rock gave us some cover, but not total. If it came up the slope directly, we'd be in its line of sight. If it circled, I tried not to finish that thought. The wind carried smells in broken waves. Pine, cold dirt, something faintly musky under it all, like wet dog and damp leaves left in a pile too long. We crouched there, 4 grown adults suddenly reduced to breathing as quietly as we could and staring at each other with wide eyes. I could hear my pulse in my ears. And under that, faint, the sound of something heavy moving through brush. Snap. Rustle. Pause. It was coming closer. Every horror movie you've ever seen tells you what to expect. Roaring, screaming, something that lunges at the last second. That's not what happened. What happened was, careful, it came into view again, higher up this time, maybe 20 meters away, moving along the slope toward the grave. This was the first time I saw it with my own eyes, not through a thermal camera. It was taller than any of us by a lot. I'd guess at least 7 feet, maybe more. Hard to say with the terrain. Broad through the shoulders, with arms that hung lower than a human's would. Its fur hair, whatever you want to call it, was dark brown, almost black, with some lighter streaks. It wasn't a clean, glossy coat like some fantasy creature. It was matted in places, clumped, real, dirty. The head sat a little forward on the shoulders. I couldn't see details of the face from where we were. Just a heavy brow, a general shape. No glowing eyes or any of that movie crap, just dark. It moved with this weird combination of weight and lightness. Heavy enough to bend branches, light enough that it didn't stumble or hesitate on rocks that made us slip. It didn't seem to be looking for us. It was looking at the grave. It came up to the mound and stopped. For a moment, it just stood there. The wind tugged at the longer fur on its arms and shoulders. Then, it did something that still makes my chest hurt when I think about it. It knelt, just like in the video. Same movement, one knee down, body leaning forward. It placed one massive hand on the mound of dirt, just rested it there for a few seconds. Then it moved its other hand, the one I hadn't really seen until then. It was holding something, a bundle of stems, small, fragile compared to the size of its fingers. Wildflowers, or what was left of them in the cold little scraggly blooms in whites and faded purples, petals already bruised by the wind. It laid them gently on top of the grave. No chanting, no ritual dance, no weird noises, just flowers on a grave. Lily's hand tightened on my arm so hard it hurt. I didn't say anything. I didn't want even a whisper to carry. The creature bent a bit lower, like it was listening, or smelling. I couldn't tell. Then it started to do something with the dirt, not digging this time, more like smoothing. It used the side of its hand to press the mound, patting it down, making it more even. It reminded me of my mom smoothing out my blankets when I was a kid. That same, absent, slightly distracted care. My brain kept trying to label what I was seeing as a trick, some prank with animatronics, a person in a suit. But there's a difference between watching a video and feeling the wind change when a heavy body shifts its weight, hearing the muted thud of a knee in soft earth. The smell was stronger now, just wild. It stayed like that for maybe a minute. Could have been 10 seconds. Could have been 5 minutes. My sense of time was gone. Then it did something that freaks me out more than anything else. It turned its head slightly toward our direction. Not all the way, not a full look, just enough that I could see the outline of part of its face, the slope of a cheek, a dark, deep-set eye, the flaring of wide nostrils as it scented the wind. I stopped breathing, literally held my breath like a child hiding from a parent. Did it see us? It sniffed once, twice, a slow, deep inhalation. Then it looked back at the grave. Whatever it decided, we weren't important enough to investigate. Or maybe it knew and just didn't care. It stayed a moment longer. Then it pushed itself up to standing with a small sound, like a grunt, low and soft, almost a sigh. It glanced once toward the tree line below, then stepped away from the mound. One step, another. It moved along the slope, away from us, away from the trail. Within a few seconds, the trees swallowed it. The sound of its movement faded under the wind until there was just the mountain again. Us. The grave. The flowers. Nobody spoke. We just stayed crouched there, staring at the spot where it had vanished. I only realized I'd been holding my breath when my lungs burned and I gulped in air hard enough to make me cough. The cough sounded shockingly loud. The wind took it right away, but for that second I felt exposed. "Okay," Chris whispered finally, voice rough. "We're leaving." We didn't argue. Climbing down the mountain after that felt like walking through a dream you're not quite awake from. Everything was too sharp and too dull at the same time. The ground under my boots felt unstable, like it might just drop away. Every shadow between trees looked deeper than before. Every sound of branches in the wind made me jerk my head around. Nobody talked much. Once, about halfway down, Lily said very quietly, "It brought flowers." Nobody answered her. Not because we didn't hear, but because we didn't know what to do with that sentence. When we got back to the ranger station, Jenna took one look at us and knew. "You saw it," she said. "It wasn't a question." Chris nodded once. "We came back for our packs and it came back too." "To the grave." Jenna swore under her breath. Not at us. Just at the situation. "It didn't hurt you," she said. "No," I said. "It didn't even look at us." "Not really." Lily shook her head. "It knew we were there," she whispered. "Maybe," Jenna said. "It brought flowers," Lily added. Jenna's face changed at that, something in her eyes, not surprise exactly. More like confirmation. "Okay," she said. "Okay, sit down for a minute." We did. Our legs were unsteady anyway. She brought us water, which felt absurdly normal, and waited until we'd each taken a sip. "I'm not supposed to tell you this much," she said, "but after what you've seen today, I think it's worse to leave you with half a story." She sat on the edge of the desk, arms folded, like a teacher about to explain a hard truth. "That wasn't the first time," she said. "We've had reports going back decades. Long before trail cams. Hunters finding arranged stones over animal carcasses. Old loggers talking about burial mounds that weren't any kind of human cemetery. A few situations sort of like this one." "Like what?" Maya asked. She sounded worn out, but still sharp. "Like a body being moved after death," Jenna said. "Not hidden, not eaten, not torn up, just relocated. Covered, sometimes with rocks, sometimes with branches. Now, apparently, with flowers." "So it's what?" Chris asked. "Like a, I don't know, forest caretaker thing?" Jenna shrugged. "I don't know. I'm a ranger, not a mythologist. All I know is we've seen enough to say this isn't random. It's a pattern." "Why not tell people?" Lily asked. "Why not tell the family? Wouldn't you want to know, if it was your father or husband, that something cared enough to bury him?" Her voice broke a little on the word cared. Jenna looked at her for a long time. "If I lost someone up here," she said slowly, "the main thing I'd want to know is that they didn't suffer more than they had to, that they were found, that they were brought home. I don't know if adding, by the way, something big and unknown moved his body around afterwards would help me. Might just keep me up at night for the rest of my life." "It's keeping us up," I said. "Yeah," Jenna said softly. "I know," she sighed and rubbed her face. "Look, I'm not happy about all this either. But we work with what we've got. We're understaffed, underfunded, and we already spend too much time dealing with folks who come up here thinking they're on a TV show. You tell the world there's a 7-foot-tall something wandering around burying people and deer, and this place becomes a circus." "And that's worse than lying?" Maya asked. Jenna flinched a little at the word. "We're not lying," she said. "We're just not telling every part of it. He did die of exposure. That's what the autopsy will show. No trauma except maybe some mild handling marks. No broken bones from an attack. No signs of being eaten, just plain awful hypothermia and a heart that stopped." She looked at me. Maybe because I'd been the one to watch the screen hardest. Maybe because I hadn't said much up to that point. "I know you want this to mean something," she said. "But sometimes things just are. We do our job. We keep people safe. We don't light fires we can't put out." I didn't have a response for her, so I nodded again. And that was the second lie. The news broke a couple days later. "Missing Mount Hood hiker found deceased," the headline said. I got the alert on my phone at work and my stomach dropped. The article was short. They always are. Name, age, where he was from. Basic details. Last seen alone, likely disoriented by weather, found by search and rescue. Hypothermia and cardiac arrest. No signs of foul play. The comments were full of the usual stuff. People need to stop going up there unprepared. Should have brought a GPS. Solo hiking is asking for it. Lots of armchair experts. Nobody talking about the part where a 7-foot unknown thing carried him and covered him with dirt and flowers. They quoted Harris. He said something about respecting the mountain, weather conditions changing fast, condolences to the family. I stared at his name on the screen and thought of his face in that small office, the way he'd watched us watch the footage. I clicked through to the family's public page. I don't know why I did that. Curiosity, maybe. Or guilt. There were photos of the man, him grilling in a backyard, him with kids on his shoulders at a fair, him standing on some other mountain somewhere, arms wide, smiling like he'd found his place in the world. His wife, or ex-wife, I didn't know, had posted a statement about "at least we have him back now." About he died doing what he loved. I sat there in my swivel chair, with the hum of the office HVAC and the smell of someone reheating leftovers in the break room, and I felt more out of place than I ever have on any mountain, because I knew something about his last hours that she didn't. I knew that after his heart stopped and his body started cooling on that cold ground, he wasn't just left there. Something found him. Something big and strange and unknown, and that thing didn't rip him apart. Didn't drag him away, didn't treat him like trash. It carried him. It buried him. It came back with flowers, and I helped keep that from his family. The 4 of us drifted after that. Lily and I tried to talk about it once or twice in the weeks that followed. Lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, that weird silence between couples who have shared something too heavy. "I keep seeing its hand," she said once. On the ground. It was so big, but it was gentle. Isn't that weird? It felt gentle. "I know," I said, "and the way it sniffed," she said. Like it knew we were there and it was just letting us stay, like it was saying, "I'm busy. Don't interfere." I didn't have language for what I felt. I wasn't afraid of it in the simple way you're afraid of a bear or a cougar. It was more complicated. Fear, yes, but also this uneasy respect, and this shame that I couldn't shake. Shame that whatever that thing was had more dignity in how it handled the dead than I did in how I handled the living. Maya went the other way. She got angry. She thought about going public. She drafted a long post at one point, describing what we'd seen in careful detail, even mentioning the location. She sent it to me and Chris in a group chat asking, "Should I post this? People should know." Chris called me after reading it. "You know she'll do it, right?" he said. "Maybe she should," I said. "Should she?" he asked. "Are you ready for your name in that mess? For people calling you a liar, a hoaxer, or worse? Are you ready for them believing you and coming up here with guns at night vision trying to bag themselves a Sasquatch?" I pictured that thing kneeling by the grave, the bundle of wildflowers in its hand. "No," I said, "I'm not ready for that. He talked to Maya. I don't know what he said. The post never went up." Lily slowly stopped hiking. At first she said she was just busy. Then she admitted that every time she saw a tree line now, she imagined 2 dark eyes somewhere in it watching. We broke up about a year later. Not only because of this. Relationships die from 1,000 small cuts, not one clean slice. But I'd be lying if I said that day on Hood didn't drive a wedge between us. How do you move on from something like that when you're not even allowed to call it what it is? I didn't go back to Hood for a long time. When I finally did, I stayed on the more crowded routes, the groomed ones. I kept half an eye out for cameras on trees. I read every flyer twice. I never went back to that exact spot. Part of me wanted to see if the grave had sunk, if the flowers had left any trace. But another part of me, maybe the smarter part, didn't want to trespass on that place again. Over the years, I've heard more stories, quiet ones. A guy from a search and rescue team who got drunk at a bar once and said, "We've seen some weird crap nobody tells the public." An old-timer who told me, "If you get turned around in the woods and you feel something leading you downhill, don't fight it." Things like that. They never mention the big guy directly. But there's always a shadow around the words. I've listened to podcasts, Sasquatch Chronicles and all that, people calling in with their encounters, trying to make sense of them. Some of them sound like they're chasing clout. Some of them don't. Sometimes I want to call in to say, hey, I saw something too. But it wasn't throwing rocks or screaming in the distance. It was doing something good, or at least not evil. Then I think of Harris and Jenna, of that cramped office and the way Jenna rubbed her forehead like it hurt. I think of the man's wife, typing out, he died doing what he loved, and we're grateful he was found. I think of her nights, which are probably already hard enough without adding a giant unknown creature into her husband's last chapter, and I stay quiet. Until now, I guess. People always want proof. Photos, video, something they can screenshot and argue about in the comments. I don't have that. We didn't record the screen. We didn't sneak a copy of the footage. Even if we had, I'm not sure a grainy thermal clip would convince anyone. You'd see what you wanted to see. Suit, hoax, bear, monster, angel, whatever fits your story. You can take this however you want. You can decide I'm making it up, or that I misinterpreted what I saw. I wish I were making it up. I wish I could stuff this back into the category of creepy story and watch it on a screen like everyone else. But I was there. I saw the grave before the body came out. I saw the thermal footage. I saw that thing with my own eyes kneel on that cold mountain and lay flowers on a mound of dirt. And the part that keeps me up at night isn't the size of it or the unknown of it. It's that, in that moment, on that mountain, whatever that thing was, acted with more simple, quiet respect than most humans I know. It didn't own words like closure or ritual or morality. It just did what felt, on some deep level, right. And I helped bury that truth under a routine exposure fatality line in a news story.